Thank you. Well, good morning, Buju, Peggy Flanagan, and Dishnakaz, Gijuwe Wadamukwe, and to go, Guabaga, Ganikagdan Dunjaba, Mayangan Dame. My name's Peggy Flanagan. My Ojibwe name is Speaks with a Loud and Clear Voice Woman. I'm a the person who was least surprised that was my Indian name was my husband. And I'm a member of the White Earth Nation, which is the largest tribe in Minnesota, and my family is the Wolf Clan. And the role of our clan is to ensure that we're not leaving anyone behind, which is why I am a Democrat and why I am in Wisconsin today. So I know that we have some healthy rivalries between our two states, Vikings versus Packers, Badgers and Gophers, fountains and bubblers, right? But I jumped at the chance when the Biden campaign asked me to come here because I know that we share the same values of wanting to make sure that everybody has a fair shot and that working families have what they need to thrive, our young people can reach their full potential, and freedom, like actual freedom, unlike what the other guys are talking about, is something that we truly embrace. And so that's why I'm here, Wisconsin, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. And as your neighbor to the west, as was mentioned, I can tell you that I bring good news of how things can be. And I want you to know that it wasn't simply that we had one election and then everything worked out. Oh, how I wish that was the case. But we organized in 2022, in 2020, in 2016, and decades of building a foundation so that once we had a Democratic trifecta, we just ran as hard and as fast as we could to do good things for people. And when folks say, oh gosh, you did too much, we just did what we told you we were going to do. Like pass paid family and medical leave, ensure that every child in school can have breakfast and lunch at school, like no questions asked, right? Protecting access to reproductive health, a child tax credit that will lower child poverty by 30%, the largest investment ever in clean energy so we can get to 2040 and be a clean energy state. There are so many things that we did. But we did it because we did the work on the front end. In Wisconsin, you are on that path right now. I paid particularly, close attention to what happens in Wisconsin because one of my besties is your Lieutenant Governor, Sarah Rodriguez, and I think she'll be here shortly, so I'm excited about that. But this work is happening in Wisconsin, and it might seem a little slow. Hang in there, right? Hang in there because we are right on the edge. I think Ben Wickler and the Wisconsin Democratic Party, who are just doing the work, all of you have been playing the long game. Playing the long game, slowly winning races for governor, lieutenant governor, the Supreme Court that everybody was paying attention to, right? And finally getting new maps that undid decades of gerrymandering. So you have a fair shot at winning this thing, and I know how hard you are going to work, which is why I'm here. There is hope. But in order to keep this momentum in Wisconsin, and I think that, this season of progressive wins is right here, we have to make sure that we re-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And we have to make sure that we elect Democrats up and down the ballot, including right here in Wisconsin. This election is more than just policies. It is about the soul of our nation, the soul of our country. And I'd like to share with you, if I can, the first time that I met Joe Biden. The first conversation that I ever had with him was in his dining room when he was vice president, which is not like a usual beginning to a story. I get it. But I had traveled there for an event that was celebrating advocates of the Violence Against Women Act. I was there with David Wellstone, who is the son of our late, great Senator Paul Wellstone. We all do better when we all do better. That is exactly right. And I told him my story. I told him my story of being a survivor of domestic violence and a child witness of abuse. And the care that this man showed me in that moment, holding my story, really seeing me for frankly the first time when I've told this story, and like maybe 4 or 5 people knew. I was like, this man, the heart of this man, I will do everything I can to help him and support him. And I witnessed true kindness, not just being nice, but true kindness. So that's Joe Biden, a decent and caring guy, a big-hearted man. Now let's contrast that with the other guy, shall we? The Republicans are going to nominate a twice impeached, criminally indicted, disgraced, and defeated former President Donald Trump. And they're nominating Trump's MAGA Republican allies all across the country. He lies, he cheats, he steals to get ahead. And I will not forget that Donald Trump is a convicted abuser. He's in it all for himself, and he has shown us over and over and over again that is the case. We all lived through those 4 hours, I wish, 4 years when Trump was in office. Every day brought chaos and crisis and corruption as he put his own interests in front of ours. Remember going to sleep each night with a pit in your stomach, being like, what bizarro thing am I going to wake up to on Twitter? What world leader will he pick a fight with? Right, just over ego. And as a mom, I had to go turn off the television every time he came on because I was afraid of what kind of bad behavior my child would witness or the foul, crude language that she would hear. So we've heard it so many times, but this election truly is the most important of our lifetime. And there are so many things that they have promised to do: repeal the Affordable Care Act, take away the rights of women and girls to make decisions about their own bodies and health care, stop parents from conceiving via IVF, shoot Americans in the street when they exercise their First Amendment right, give tax cuts to the wealthiest billionaires, trillion-dollar tax cuts that are in place right now, instead of supporting the middle class and folks who need that investment. And we never forget his pledge to be a dictator on day one. And even last night in Pennsylvania, he said, I would like to decide when the elections occur. He is telling us to our face what he will do. This is an alarm. And so that is why I am here, to tell you that you all have a say. You all have a say in what can be our future. And we want to know, right, who's going to fight for us, for our families, for our future? The answer is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And let's remember that when Joe and Kamala took office, a deadly pandemic was raging. I lost my brother to COVID during the pandemic. Thousands of small businesses were shuttering forever. Millions of Americans were losing their jobs, and our democracy was hanging on by a thread. We were lurching from crisis to crisis, exacerbated by a chaos monster, and we were in desperate need of a steady hand and an opportunity to begin to heal ourselves and heal this country. And so now, 3 years later, we're in the middle of a great American comeback story. Joe, Kamala, and the Democrats are investing in the middle class, rebuilding our economy from the middle and from the bottom up, and there's hope in America once again. And Joe and Kamala have turned their hope into action. I want to give you a couple things that you could talk about with your neighbors, okay? So already, senior citizens are paying less for prescription drugs. The price of insulin is capped at $35, saving over 1 million Wisconsinites money every time they fill their prescriptions. Over 250,000 Wisconsinites have signed up for health care through the ACA. More than $6.6 billion have been invested in specific Wisconsin infrastructure projects, including rebuilding roads and bridges, public transit, ports and airports, and creating a clean water infrastructure. And my favorite project is the Blotnick Bridge. That is the lifeline, the heart, the connection between our two states, and we know how important it is. And Joe Biden has created more jobs in this economy than any other president ever. And I think that means something. So we've made real progress, but I know that there's more work to do, and we have 4 more years to keep doing the work. At kitchen tables across the country, families are having conversations about childcare, how they're going to make ends meet, what their future looks like. And I know that Joe Biden cares about those folks. Do you think Donald Trump ever worried about the cost of a new pair of shoes for his child? Do you think he ever actually took his child to buy a new pair of shoes? Do you think he actually spends time with his child? I don't know. That's right. But he can't imagine what it's like to be a parent barely just getting by. But Joe Biden can, and I think that matters. He is us. He knows us. And as a Anishinaabe, as a Native woman, I can tell you that the fact that he's an elder is something to be respected and revered. So I'm going to share one more story before I wrap up, because this is what it feels like everything is on the line. And I know you know this. But I want to put a little gas in your tank, right, for the next several months when we're calling folks and knocking on doors and doing the work that is so important. So in summer of 2022, I was running for re-election with the governor. We had the Painters Union filming a campaign commercial. I had makeup and all the things were happening. And it was a great day until I got a phone call that Roe had been overturned. And in that moment, I did what I needed to do, which was call my mom. And my mom said, well, I've prepared you your whole life for this moment. And in her way of being so buck up, kiddo, right? I wiped the tears from my face and got focused about what we needed to do to win that election in Minnesota, to protect each other and to care for one another. And we were victorious. And it is that same kind of motivation that brings me here to Wisconsin today. And as the mom of a daughter, I do not want her to have fewer rights than I did or fewer rights than her grandmother did. And that's just real. And we have to be unafraid to talk about it. But it is also an honor that every generation we get to tend to and fight for our democracy. And we must ensure that we are building our generation of young people to know the Democratic Party is a place for them, and that Joe and Kamala will have their back and they can make decisions themselves about how and when and if to start a family, about which books to read, and that they can cast a ballot knowing that there will not be obstacles that are thrown up in their way, because we simply value the right that we fought for, the right to vote. So are y'all with me? All right. So I am so grateful for every one of you for being willing to be in this space. This is one of the only convention spaces I've ever seen that has windows, so good for you. But coming together with your friends and neighbors, being willing to knock that extra door, make that extra call, have that conversation about what's at stake, but also about your hopes and dreams for yourselves, for your neighbors, for the future of Wisconsin and this entire country. I know that Wisconsin will be blue and will deliver for Democrats this fall, and I'm honored and humbled to be a small part of it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you.